Okay.
Okay. Hi, everybody. And thank you very much, Ryte. And thank you for inviting us to this webinar and that you want us to have a small presentation about Mercell and Mercell services. Just wait for Fred to share the presentation. Great.
Yes.
So my name is Anita Torgersen, and I will talk a little bit about the Norwegian tender market, as well as show you briefly inside the Mercell platform a little bit later on. I'm working with both buyers and supplier side in the private corporate market, and I have done so in Mercell for about 6.5 years now. But I also have my talented colleague, Fred, with us today. But Fred, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Yes, I have worked in Mercell for about 10 years. I've worked with a lot of suppliers in different branches, mostly in the IT branches and the construction branches and the consulting branches. I worked with tenders, our tender services, and also with our analytic tools, which we are going to talk about today. So, so I think we should start and just see if and see in the this presentation about the public sector in Norway. We see that the public market has increased a lot in the recent years. We are talking about over Norwegian krone 560 billion are spent last year on public procurement. If you compare with, let's say, 10 years ago, the same amount was around 350 billion Norwegian krone during 1 year. So there are a lot of activities in the public sector. Public buyers are, of course, dependent on private business for completing projects and solving their needs. So this means that there are a lot of leads and many business and a lot of opportunities in the Norwegian market. Of course, there are some problems, as you know, in of course in the travel sector, the hotels and restaurant sector, and of course they have a difficult market and hard times. But when we talk about, for example, IT sector, we talk about construction, talking about building roads, talk about building tunnels and bridges and so on. In Norway, there are a lot of activities, and of course the government want to give jobs to also small companies in the Norwegian market. So there are a lot of opportunities. So our conclusion is that if you tend to do some proactive work in the Norwegian market, that will strengthen, of course, your opportunities in the public sector, but because, as I said, there are a lot of activities. So I will talk about how we can use strategic sales offers to get ahead of the competition and find business opportunities by looking at market opinions, and talk about how to get over you need to make a good plan. So this means that there are a lot of possibilities, and of course, if you work have municipalities as a customer, the municipalities will not get bankrupt. So there are a lot of credit-worthy customers in the public sector, of course, in Norway. But before I get into our analyze tools, Anita will get you in and talk about our tender solutions in Norway. So go ahead, Anita.
Great, thank you, Fred. let's talk about a little bit how you can find, you have to change your, how you can find relevant tenders. You have the opportunity to make your own search in Doffin, which is the national database for the Norwegian tenders above the national threshold value. Or you can also search in TED, which is the European database for the public procurement, where all the competition above the EU threshold value are published. But you also have different companies who deliver notification on tender competition, just as what Mercell does. This notification service will help you find all the right competition for you and your company, and make sure that you don't miss out on any competition that might be of interest for you. Then it also will be easier for you to choose which tenders you want to participate in. All the tender competition is coded with CPV codes, as you might already know, and those codes are codes for goods and services that the buyer used to describe their purchases. There are over 9,000 different CPV codes, which also are international and are used by all the buyers in Europe. We often use these CPV codes for search to find different tenders. In addition to CPV codes, you can also search for tenders with keywords, whether they are pure keywords or together with plus or minus words. You also have the option to make search profiles with keywords where you actually can narrow down your search within CPV codes and so on. All these possibilities can be done in the Mercell tender notification service, and your contact person will help you build up the profiles that you and your company actually need. Shall we change the page, Fred? Thank you. How to get relevant tenders delivered into your email box? Let's put it like this. As a Mercell customer, you will be able to get help tailoring your search profiles the way you and your company wish and need, so you can get all the relevant tender information delivered right into your inbox. That means that we will help you with the search profiles to minimize the risk so you don't miss out on your potential business opportunities, and also narrow down so you don't get too much irrelevant information. This means that you can actually save time on trying to find the right competitions and rather spend more time on productive things for you and your company. In Mercell, you will find all the tenders from the public sector above the national threshold value, but we also have competition that are below the national threshold value, as well as some tenders from the private sector. You have the opportunity to receive unique information, such as what the public has put into their budget or what they have plans to do in the future, and also what they have made decision about what they are going to do in the future. This is, of course, information from the public sector. And you can be given information about the expiry of framework agreement. That will give you information just such as when the first expiry date is and who won the competition last time, what the competition contain, and also who was the responsible buyer in the previous procurement. But framework agreement will Fred also talk more about afterwards. If you haven't been a customer of Mercell before and you haven't tested our service, then you can have the opportunity to get a 14 days trial period for free. So you can evaluate our service and see what we can offer. You can contact the Mercell Estonia department and they will help you with all you need and also give you more information if you want or need that. You will see the contact information for the Estonia department in the end of this presentation, and we will also send out this presentation to you after this webinar. Then I think we can change the slide again. And now I think we should go into the platform. So I will share my screen with you. And there we go. So when you log into the Mercell platform, this is your front page. This is what you will see. And it contains some big boxes on the front page. The first one is called favorites. And in this box, you have the opportunity to save all the tenders that you think you would like to look at more later on. That means that if you go into your tender alert email, you can mark the ones that you think are interesting for you and your company. And then they will lie here on the front page and wait for you until you have the time to go through them and make a choose if you like to answer them or not. It's easy to mark them as favorites and also mark them off as favorites. You will, of course, through Mercell receive a lot of tenders that you are not going to answer inside our platform, but in other platforms as well. And there you can just follow the link to notice inside the tender. But the ones that you are going to participate in the Mercell platform, you just show interest and the tender will move over to the box that's called My Tenders. And when you are done delivering the bids on the ones in Mercell platform, it will move down to latest submissions. As you can see here, I have delivered some bids. And some of our buyers also use our agreement tools. And if they do and you win, you might have your copy of your agreement in this box. Everything in the Mercell platform that you are participating in will be saved. So you will see that we have some buttons up here on the right side. And one is called agreements and one is called My Tenders. So all my history of agreements and tenders that I have participated in, I will find inside here because the front page will only show the last 10 tenders. In Mercell, we also have free support. So here you have the opportunity to get some help if you need that, answering any tender. And we also have a guide center here on the right side. We have a calendar, and with the calendar, you have the opportunity to make a note to yourself on each and every competition. And you can also merge this calendar with your own email calendar if you like to do that and have even better overview. As I told you a little bit earlier on, I told you that we can build up different search profiles, and just to show you how it is done, I can go into a plain CPV code search profile. And if I click on this flick, you will see that I have chosen these CPV codes for my search profile. And in this box on the left side, you will find all the 9,000 different CPV codes. Let's just look at a combination profile as well, so you can see that we also can build with search keywords and also with minus words. And I can also narrow it down with CPV codes. But all this will we in Mercell help you to build, so we make sure that you don't miss out on any competition and receive all the information that's important for you to receive. I always use the Mercell logo to get back to the front page. This button that's called Mercell Update, because you will receive an email each morning or each week, all depends on what you want, with information about which tender has been published. Even though it's not published in Mercell, you will know about it. And this Mercell update will also give you the same information that you have received on email. So it means that if you have vacation for 14 days or something like that, I would advise you to go in here and search back in time to find all the relevant information that you have received on email, so you can just stop looking for the emails that you received in that period of time. So with the notification service, you also have the opportunity to do some search by yourself. When I click on the search button, I will come to the first page that's called profile search. This is the place where we often use to find out what the search profiles will find of tenders and so on. So this is a great way to make the profiles even better than we have it from the start. I don't think I should go so far back. Let's go 1 week. And when I change to from date, I can press the search button, and now all the information that has been published within that period of time will now pop up. That means if you have a 14 days trial, you can go back in time and see all the information that you haven't received, but what you could have received in that period. And right now I have put in the Norwegian tenders as well as the Estonian tenders. And the first thing I see is some of the tenders are marked with this circle with an E inside it. That is supposed to look like the Mercell logo, and that means that this tender you are going to answer inside the Mercell platform. The tenders that do not have this black circle with an E in it, then you have to follow the link to notice to get to the platform where this tender is published. I can also see the coins beside each tender, and the coins will tell me what kind of value this tender has. So if it's 1 coin, it's below the national threshold value. If it's 2 coins, it's over the national threshold value. And if it's 3 coins, it's over the EU threshold value. I can also see what kind of information I receive, if it's a prior tender notice, or if it's tenders or budget, or even if someone has won the competition. I can also double check who has won the tender if I didn't win it. And if I put my pointer over the head main text, I can also see the description of the tender, so I don't have to click into each and every tender to see if this is something I would like to participate in. And it will show me the region and also the country and which date this tender has been published. And here on the right side, I will see the star, and this is my favorite button. So when I click it, it will turn green and be saved on the front page. And this flag will give me the opportunity to add a reminder to myself on each and every tender. It's great to use on framework agreements, because then I can make a note to myself when I think the tender is going to be published again, so I can be prepared when the tender is published again. In addition to this, you also have the opportunity to do some advanced search inside our platform, because you have actually access to every tender that ever has been published within the Mercell system. So when I press the advanced setting, you will see it will pop up with even more opportunities. So I can do my own keyword search. I can search for the document numbers of the tender, or I can search on awarding authority. Also, I can choose my own CPV codes and so on. And I can also decide which kind of information that will pop up in my search. So this is a great way to do some different search and have some fun inside the platform. So then I think we have gone through the main things inside the platform, Fred. So maybe we should go back to the presentation.
Yes.
When you contact the Estonian office for Mercell, they will, of course, also show you the site and also tell you what things you have the opportunity to do inside the platform.
Can you see the screen now, Anita?
Absolutely. So if you go on the next page,
yes.
Great. So, but if you are going to answer tenders, we recommend that you focus on the right tenders for you and your company. That means that you should actually be selective, and you shouldn't try to reach over all the competition. Choose the ones that you think that you have the opportunity to win, and those that you know you also will make money on if you win them. So we will advise you to ask yourself, can I actually deliver what the buyer asked for? Are we prepared to deliver all what they ask for? Who are my competitors in this tender? Who will I compete with my competitors on this tender? Will the company make money on this tender, or should we actually focus on some other tender instead? Is this actually the right tender for us to focus on? If you go on next slide, Fred. And then you have, what does it take to win a competition? And that's a tough question. It's quite important that you read all the announcement carefully. Make sure that you get everything the buyer asks for, and that you understand what they want you to focus on in your offer. Because if you can't deliver what the buyer asks for, or if you are trying to be creative here instead, then you actually will be rejected from the competition. So start early in the process and prepare for the competition. And that is actually your first main thing to do. If there's some information that you feel is missing inside the tender, then you actually should ask the buyer questions before the deadline of questions expires, so you can get all the information you need. And please submit the tender early, a good time before the deadline, because then you also have the opportunity to make changes if you discover that you have done something wrong, or if you have forgotten anything in your tender. And then you also have the opportunity to correct it, and you can deliver the bid once more. Because just so you know, it will always be the last offer that you submit that will be valid for the buyer. Try to work in a structured way and make sure to leave an offer with a good structure, because it's important that the buyer understand what you are delivering in your offer, and that they can find all your information easy and it's understandable. You have to answer all documentation requirements and award criteria. And we would advise you to mark the documents well, so they know what they contain when they receive them. If you familiarize yourself carefully with the formal requirements for the design of the offer, which documents are to be delivered in this offer, in this tender, what format are they in and are to be delivered in, whether they are to follow a special name structure, and so on. And again, please be sure to submit your offer in good time in advance of the deadline. Remember, it is and always will be you as a supplier who are responsible to submitting the tender before the deadline expires. If you go to next, Fred. So let's talk a little bit about what should you think about as a foreign company when you are participating in a Norwegian tender competition. Well, in principle, everyone can submit tenders for public competition, since the common EEA rules are to ensure equal treatment regardless of geography area. The client is not allowed to favor suppliers from his own country, nor is he allowed to discriminate against foreign suppliers. But it's very dependent on the industry about what difference areas for Norwegian, registered, and foreign companies. In some industries, like building and construction, there will be a special Norwegian rule related to what it takes to get approval to carry out the assignment. In addition, there are some rejection rules that are special to Norway. It's, for example, a lower threshold for being rejected from the competition due to the branch of rules of corruption, money laundering, and so on. Those are so-called grounds for rejection in the ESPD form. This is hopefully not so relevant for most people, but it's good to know anyway. But in principle, requirements for equal treatments apply for foreign suppliers must therefore have the same opportunity as the local suppliers. What should you be aware of? Yeah, that is the documentation requirements. And then you have the documentation requirements, and of course, at least but not, at last but not least, it's the documentation requirements. This is quite important. But if we look at the award criteria, you must be aware that you cannot win at a low price if quality is highly valued. One should also be aware that the offer might be rejected from the competition if it does not achieve a certain minimum score on quality. Then the low price does not help you at all. But if the price is weighted highly, it will be in reality a pure price competition. Remember then also to double check what should be included in the price, because it's very important to give prices on the terms and terms that are required by the buyer. If it says that travel costs are included in the hourly rate, then you have to give price on hourly rate with travel included in the tender. One must also check whether there are requirements for language. In many of the Norwegian competition, they will require that the offer are to be delivered in Norwegian. So if you then send your offer in English, then your offer will be rejected. If we talk about opportunities, there are many who do not expect offers from the foreign suppliers. And in some cases, the buyer has not taken into account in the tender also. So many of the local suppliers are not prepared for you as a foreign company to join the competition. But if you have the opportunity if you have the opportunity to notify the buyer before the buyer publish their competition, then you can actually tell them that this is actually a competition I would like to participate in because I have quite good competitor products and services. And then you also make it easier for the buyer to take it into account. And then they might take it to account that foreign companies also would like to answer this tender, to be a part of this tender. When it comes to the Norwegian mentality for deliver from foreign companies, that will always depend on the industry and the sector. In some sectors and industries, people are more open to foreign providers than in other sectors. In the construction industry, it has gradually become more common with foreign companies, while in consulting industry, it's less common, I'm afraid. But the key word for you is trust. You have to convince the buyer that you are a safe choice for them, even though you are not a Norwegian company. This can be about competence, quality systems, knowledge of the Norwegian standards, and so on. Although you have the necessary local expertise and and the high educated related to construction in Estonia. It might be a problem if you don't understand the Norwegian market, because there are other conditions in Norway, for example, the climate, building traditions, and the way of solving things. And not at least, we have the language. It's inevitable that the language actually can be a barrier for many. That's just the way it is, I'm afraid. And when it comes to languages, you need to know that if it says in the offer, in the competition, that the offer have to be in Norwegian, then the requirement must be met. Otherwise, you will be rejected. Okay, Fred, will you take a quick summary before you are going to talk a little bit about analytics?
Yes, I can do that. Well, as I mentioned first, and as Anita talked about the public sector, it's big, it's huge, and it has increased for the last year. We in Mercell, our figures shows that we are talking a market between 500 and 600 billion Norwegian krone in procurement yearly. So it's a big market, and it's increasing. So as Anita told you, it's very important that you find the right tenders for your company, but because there are a lot of tenders. In Mercell, we talk about 60,000 kind of activities we are in a way put in our database during a year. Around 3,000, framework agreements, and in addition tenders and budget and so on. So here are a lot of possibilities, but you have to find the right case for you. And of course, it's very important to present the good offer, as I have usually mentioned to customers. If the client wants 3 references, you have to give them 3 references. It's not enough with just 2 references. So you have to follow the instruction. That's very important. And of course, you have to perform a good job, and if you have to follow all the details in the tenders. That's very important. Anita talked about our Mercell tender services. It's our main product and has been it for 20 years. Since 2015, we launched an analyze tool we called Mercell Analytics. And it's a consultancy report we are doing in Norway, but also in Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. And now we are talking about the Norwegian market. And this service is not a part of the Mercell tender service. It's a report we produce for you. What's important with this? Well, as I mentioned, proactive work in the Norwegian market would strengthen your opportunities in the public sector. We can give you an analyze tool that give you a unique market insight when we talk about framework agreements, when we talk about budgets and investment plans in the public sector, when we talk about the competitor. How's your situation in the Norwegian market compared with your competitors? So we can give you a tool here, for example, for in a period for 4 years. The first main area in this analytic tools is it's the framework agreements. And we talk about framework agreements in your market, which are has a duration for around 4 years. But if you want a specific analysis for just 2 years, of course, we can produce also that. But here you can see, of course, okay, country, now we're talking about Norway, and we talk about area, of course, which region, what kind of activities and framework agreements are in Møre og Romsdal, for example, or in the weekend area. Okay, we can show you that. Purchaser, who are the purchaser of this framework agreements? Of course, all the description we have, we get the link all the way to the Mercell portals, as you know. And we can show you who are today's supplier. We don't always have the name of today's supplier, but on the most cases we have today's supplier. And of course, the expected expiration of the framework agreements. Is this a deal for 2 years, 3 years, and 4 years? And what about the option? Is the option for 12 months or 1 year? It's an option for 48 months or 4 years. Normally in Norway, framework agreements last around 4 years. It's a 2-year contract, and then you have the option in addition. So we talk about the 4-year contract. So that's the most common framework agreements in the Norwegian market. And of course, we can also give you input when we talk about estimated value. So, well, if you are interested in this area, you can ask, what do you get here? Well, when the framework agreement was last published, which company won the contract, how much the deal was worth, when the agreement expires, and then put out the tender again, of course. And of course, who the client is. So here we have some keywords around every case in the, for example, in the Norwegian market that are interesting for you. And when we talk about interesting for you, we talk about your CPV codes and we talk about your keywords. So here I have example on how we report this in Excel, and this Excel sheet. And here you can easily search for example, region, what happens in my market in weekend in Oslo. You just write Oslo here in the area, and you can, for example, check a special purchase, for example, Oslo Kommune. How many framework agreements are in the market in Oslo, where Oslo Kommune are the purchaser who are interesting for you. And of course, there are links here in the Mercell portal. So if you click here under the description, you go in the Mercell portal, as Anita showed you instead, where you have all the details around every contracts. And of course, you can also see the today's supplier. Who is that? Here we have an example in the consultancy market, where we can see that PwC, for example, has this contract today, and the purchaser is Oslo Pensjonistforsikring. And here they have the option here, and of course the estimated value here at the right side. So, and this is an open file you get in Excel, and you can put in your own details, your own segment, or what it is in this file. So if you also want us to put in some other stuff, but this 8 keywords key area is the standard information in our analytic tools in Norway. The next main thing is when we talk about the budget and resource planning. And here we have the budgets from all the municipalities in Norway, all the 356 municipalities in Norway. We have all the budgets, what kind of activities, what kind of resources are they put in the activities. If I, for example, are in the construction market and I'm a carpenter, okay, is there some activities in the weekend, for example, for me, which are interesting for me? And then have the possibilities to contact, for example, municipalities and talk to get more information about contact persons and when will this come out in the tender in Doffin or TED database. You have the possibilities to work proactive against some customers or some activities you are very interested in. So we have the country, of course, in Norway, area, for example, Viken or Oslo, or what the area that are interesting for you, of course. And who are the purchaser? Is it Oslo Kommune or is it another purchaser? A type of investment? What kind of activities? When will this come out and be a tender in the Doffin database? Of course, this kind of question you can ask to the purchaser in the municipalities. And of course, the description of the activities. And you can also see here the whole history for example, back to 2016 and from to 2024, if you're interested in a long timeline for every activities. So, but if you just are interested in special activities in your business now in 2022, for example, or in 2021, of course, we can produce a report that are for this, of course, for this period. But a 4-year public investment is standard in our reporting system. And of course, here we have also an example of the same structure as in the framework agreements, but here we're talking about, of course, we are talking about area, we are talking about purchase areas, and we're talking about the description. And if you click here, you will go into the database in Mercell and see if there are some more information regarding these activities. And of course, what's important for you is to course, the most important budgets are that you want to focus on. So maybe you get a report for, let's say, 500 or 600 budget for the next 4 years. But if 10% of this are interesting for you, okay, there are 50 potential public leads for you, where you can contact the municipalities and talk to the purchaser and get more information around the activities are very interesting for you. And of course, you have all the figures here. Green means that this they shall invest the 1.5 million krone, and the intention is to invest 1.5 million krone the next year. So here we both have green figures and black figures in the report. So of course you start to with the most important activities for you. In this analytic tools, there are another main area, and that's the competitor analysis. And here we have figures from a company in Norway called Kommunalrapport. They are collecting all the purchasing data from all the municipalities all over the country, and so that you get information about how big are you and the Norwegian market as delivered to the public sector, compared with, for example, your 5 or 10 competitors you want to compare you with. So information like the market share, of course, of your competitors, revenue and growth for the last 3 years. We normally report. You get figures down to dietary level, invoiced sums down to account level, and development trends, of course, for in the market. And yes, normally we report 2017, 2018, and 2019. So now in October we'll also have the 2020 figures in the Norwegian market. So here we can give you some information about your position compared to your most important competitors. And of course, here is a lot of figures, but it's easy to read the figures here. Just example from the IT market, where you can see that the Norge send 16 invoices to Norwegian municipalities in this year for around 25.6 million kron. That was 2.3% of their total annual sale for over 1 billion crown. And we have all the figures for all the municipalities in Norway, so you can click in, for example, and see how Oslo, what they are doing with all this money, 7.8 million crown, what kind of accountment they have when we talk about these figures. So you can ask yourself, how much have your competitors built in relation to your most important, in relation to your business? Yes. Okay. So at the end here, the report can include the following information, as I've talked about here: expiration of framework agreements, who, what, when, the budget and investment plans for all municipalities and countries. Okay, we do it in Norway, in Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. Plan for public investment for the next 4 years as standard. So you can give you some input about the analysis of the market situation of competitors against the public market, of course, the turnover of your desired customers, and so on. Yes, as a summary at the end here, if you want to go in, let's say, in the depth in the Norwegian market in your branch, if you want to need the overview of the market related to the public sector, when we talk about framework agreements, budget investments, and the competitor situation, because you want to work proactive and get ahead of the tenders. You want to know where there will be a new tender in my market, when there will be option on different frameworks agreements. We can give you all that kind of information in this report. So, and of course, we can visualize this in different charts and so on. Yes, I mentioned that we started to produce our analytic tools report in 2015, and we have a lot of clients in different branches. What's important for them is to even get better, to get the full potential in the public sector. And if you want some more references, of course, you can get it from us. And of course, an offer if that's are interesting. Yes, I think that was everything I want to show you today. Of course, if you want some more information, more presentation, we can, of course, we can take a meeting on Teams or whatever later. But I think this was everything for this presentation.
Thank you so much. You are just in time. Perfect.
Yeah.
I like it.
As I saw that, yes, good.
Actually, we have three minutes left, so maybe somebody reached their coffee. Thank you so much for the presentation. It was a huge amount of information, and I'm sure many participants maybe need a little bit more time to understand everything, and you will get some questions later on by email. The presentation, as I promised, will be sent to the participants that are registered. But now I would like the Bygg Anleggpartner to continue. Del and Ole-Christian.
Hello.
You are here, both of you. Nice to see you. Ready? I'm sure you are ready.
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to do the long presentation of you. I think that your information will present a lot. I have been known with Della because she asked me about some sourcing in Estonia, and it went very well. And then I noticed the good competence and a lot of knowledge in those two people, and asked them to participate in our webinar. I hope to see you also in Estonia, Della. Ole-Christian, I think you are in Estonia usually. Or...
Yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah, so that's good. Do you speak Estonian also?
Yes, I speak some Estonian, quite a lot maybe, and our other colleague here in Estonia is Estonian. So
Yes.
yeah, we have Estonian, two Norwegians, and also Delet from Wales in the team. So we communicate in Norwegian, Estonian, and English in the company.
And Welsh.
And Welsh.
At least you covered good with the languages, and that I think makes more simple for the companies to and maybe to ask some deep questions to understand the issue.
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
then please let's start. I will not mute myself this time because I feel I have a little bit experience in the same field, and if it's okay for you, I will ask some questions.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start sharing presentation. Yes, we are Bygg Anleggpartner, and we are working to make a more stronger and trustworthy and fair and open construction industry. We do this by connecting companies and building culture, and also helping the cultures understand each other. We started in 2017, and we are assisting Estonian companies mainly in the Norwegian construction business with developing their company, marketing and sales, strategic advising, understanding tender documents, and standards and demands and so forth. The company has actually more than 10 years experience in the field, so we have done this longer than the Bygg Anleggpartner have existed. We are 4 workers, as you can see. We are 2 Norwegians. I'm in Estonia, and we have a Norwegian guy in Norway, and Delet is in Norway, and we also have an Estonian girl here in Estonia. So about the tendering process. Well, first, like Mercell also talked about, identifying the tenders, finding them, where can you find them, knowing the market, using online platforms like Mercell, and you also have some others that you can use, like Norge Bygges and Big Fakta, among others. And you can also use us for sourcing inquiries. We also use Mercell and the other platforms.
Ole-Christian, can I ask you?
Yes.
One point is really interesting for me. Exciting relationship with decision makers. How to find them? You will tell later, maybe a little bit more, because
Yes.
it's usually the difficult part. One of the difficult part is how to reach them, how to talk with them, and not how to talk, but how to give the possibility to meet them.
Well, you can use someone who is already in the market, some representative, for example, who has experience and is already present, so you can get your way in that way, so to say. And then when preparing the tender, there are several tender forms, like also Mercell talked about. You have the ESPD forms, especially in the public tenders, and also in the private tenders. You also often have to cross off forms stating that you are following certain rules, and also making binding statements that you are following the Building Act and that you are not involved in economic crime and so forth. And this can be a bit tricky, because in Norway everything is built on trust, so you can basically just cross your way in, just stating, making the right answers without having to actually very much prove anything in the tender stage. So it's important that that you actually understand what you are confirming when you are delivering a tender. The consequences can be quite great if you have confirmed that you are following the Building Act, for example, and turns out later that you don't know the Building Act. That can be quite serious. So when submitting the tender, like Mercell talked about, also make sure that you have read it through properly, that everything is in the right format, that you have included everything that the tender needs to include, that you have the relevant attachments. That can be everything from printout from business register to tax certificates and so forth.
And, when they building the offer,
yes.
You have an important meeting the client needs or the description or the quality requirements.
Mm-hmm.
That is usually the question: is it minimum or is it maximum? Do they will offer what minimum what is asked about, or do they will build the offer with a lot of better quality?
Well, you should always follow what is described in the description, and I don't know exactly what you mean by maximum requirements, but you have to at least fulfill the minimum requirements. And if we talk about quality-wise, if you choose things that are far beyond the minimum requirement, then you will probably not be competitive. Is our experience, that don't try to offer something they haven't asked.
Okay, what about the options, and what about the reservations? Is it common to give the option additionally to the normal price, and how dangerous is to do some reservations?
You can make options and the reservations, but you have to make sure that this is clearly visible in the tender. At least in the public tender, you need a separate attachment for every deviation to the inquiry or any suggestion or option you might have to the initial request. It's also the same in private. You should also there make it very clear in the offer what is differentiating from the inquiry. But sometimes it really depends on the contract form and the inquiry form. If it's NS 3420, then you shouldn't actually offer anything except what they ask. So this is, you can do it and you can mark it out, but it's still very important that you get it into contract, that what you have offered is what they will actually purchase.
There is a reservation can be a reason you can be denied access.
Yes, absolutely.
It's really important to think through what kind of reservation is totally necessary and what can you avoid.
Yeah. So we recommend not to, at least with the public offers, you shouldn't make too much changes, because we will easily be rejected, and also if you are foreigner and they find some grounds to kick you out, then they will do it most likely. Yeah, so we are in the submit and the binding statements of conformity that I mentioned. Very important that you understand what you're actually ticking off and confirming that you are doing. Review, client reviews the proposal and use their scoring system. In the public sector, it's I would say in the 9 out of 10 cases, it's about price mostly. So if you have a higher price than others, they will most likely discard the offer. And the awarding process, the public tenders, they always give you feedback. Public private sector, they seldom give feedback unless your offer is interesting. So if you're not competitive or you're not fighting there or competing there with the very best offers, then they won't give you feedback in 9 out of 10 times. And it can be quite tedious to get the feedback that you're seeking.
Just before we go to the next slide, Ole-Christian, how actually you suggest to deal with those diffuse values like quality, the project management, and so on? Because it can be choose to choose you away or to choose into the project. We know that. What is your best suggestion how to deal with this? How to be best there? Because it's still 30 or 50% of evaluation or score system.
At least in public tenders, it can be the references and the competence can be down to 20 or 30 often. But in order to do that, you need to document well the competence in the company and how it's organized, and also hand in CVs for the employees and document well the previous experience and also the traceability of that, so that they can also contact the references and talk to them actually. So we see often that references are given, but it's like a picture of a house and the area where it's built and basically no more info. So it's important to document well all experience you have and that it's actually traceable, that they can check that this exists and the client is reachable and so on. Public versus private tenders, pros and cons. What are the benefits or non-benefits of competing in each of them? And in the public tender, you have the higher transparency. You get the actual feedback. You will see what the other offers were. The assessment criteria is clear. It's very clear what they need and what they want. It's open to everyone, and it's a good way to establish a new company in the market. If you have references from the home country and so forth, they cannot reject you because you are not local. High-profile projects usually. Very well known in the local market, and you can really use this great reference, and you get the feedback like we mentioned before. The cons is that it limits long-term partnerships. You won't be preferred by some municipal to do the next project. It's the same competition over and over.
Yeah.
You have the full responsibility to follow the regulations and procedures and standards. You don't have another partner to rely on. High level of competition, and tenders usually must be in Norwegian or another Scandinavian language. In the private tenders, you are more able to form the lasting partnership. You get the networking, you get the word spreading that you're doing a good job. And if you work for a large contractor, let's say, you will have an easier task to get new jobs for the same company. not confined as tightly by procurement laws. There are procurement laws, but in the public sector, these are more strict. They have to follow. It allows more innovation in the public sector. It's more flexible, and tenders are often accepted in English. The cons in the private sector is that it's open to favoritism. You might be a very good company, but they will choose their favorite, even if you have the best offer. Hard to source without inside knowledge and connections. Tenders may not be real, but used to actually make their existing partners come down in their prices. And the feedback is often not provided.
Okay, and here I have some questions, or at least one. Is it common? Is it normal? Is it possible to ask them about this, and when and how many times?
Yes.
I mean the private sector.
Yes, of course, you can contact and call and email about your offer, at least when the deadline that they have set for sending in the offer is passed, and maybe a week after or something, start asking the feedback. But the problem is that if they have already chosen, they often don't bother to give this feedback, unless you are a long-term partner or you have worked with them many times.
But what if in the beginning of the tender, let's say you agree to meet with, let's say again, NCC, and want to present them the offer before it's submitted? Is it common? In my experience, it makes really the buyer interesting later on, because they discuss the details and they know what is included, what's not included.
Yeah.
How common it is to get such type of meetings before that the offer is submitted?
Yes, it's always good to meet the client before and clarify any unclear points in the inquiry. So we have many times been going with clients to Norway, or they are going on their own and meeting them, or latest year it's been mostly over Teams actually. So now it's much easier to meet, and it has become much more effective. So of course, to have a clarification meeting about the inquiry before you make your final offer, that's going to be very helpful. So reaching to this point before handing in the offer, this is, it pays off. About the demands in the Norwegian market, it's offering good opportunities for anyone who wants to go there and develop their business. But it's very regulated and high demands, and there is almost like a competition who can have the highest demands and still get the job done. But at the very top, I would say it's health and safety and environment, that you are following these rules, that you have the safety representative, that you have organized and ongoing work with the HSE in the company. This is also one of the things you have to confirm when you're delivering a tender, that you are actually doing. References are important. Qualifications and educations in the company. Do you have the right people to do the right, or to do the job? Language, economy, that you have a bit good economy in the company. Workers' conditions, and documentation. Warranties, that you can give maybe bank guarantee or give them retention, and in some cases they will ask you to give both, but we try to always negotiate so that they can only keep the retention, because bank guarantee or a guarantee insurance can be tying up a lot of equity in the company. So about the health and safety and environment, it's a very big concern, and also it's like this, that this is something that is on everyone's minds, especially when they know there is a foreign contractor involved somewhere on the construction site. We are mostly involved with the construction. So there can be also private persons reporting things in they think is suspicious, and also there are many controls ongoing on sites with the police and tax office and labor inspection. And you also have the organization called Uropatruljen, which is also a group of people that have experience from the business themselves, and they are going around and they know what to check, basically. So yeah, you have strict requirements to training and conformity, frequent controls. All parts of society are focused on the Working Environment Act, and all construction workers must have a valid EASi card, and the employer is responsible for ordering it. About education, it's sometimes hard for an Estonian company to document the skills of their workers, especially in construction sector, because the education is a bit different, and in Estonia, they tend to go 2 years in the building school and then they just start working, and they don't have this trainee period and the journeyman exams and such as much as in Norway. So we did a project together with one of our clients, EASi Norras, which is I think second or third largest carpenter company in Norway today, with 140 employees. And together with them, we pioneered a adult studying program so that experienced carpenters could come back to school. And I think it was like 2 Fridays every month for half a year or something. And they did a new exam, and then they got the level 4 carpenter diploma, which is also approved by the Norwegian NOKUT, who approves foreign educations, and now they have many workers who have the same journeyman diploma as Norwegian workers. So now they can actually document, and they can participate in public tenders with the high demand of skilled workers in the tendering requirements. And now the Tallinna Ehituskool has actually made this program for also other trades. I believe it's concrete, electronics maybe, and such. So about some other common issues, sourcing the private tenders can be difficult, knowing who to approach and when to approach. When it's the right timing for your specific product to come in and offer it. Building and maintaining the trust. Rejections by purchasers in Norway. High living and operation costs. How do you calculate them? Language often used as a gatekeeper. Trusted translator needed to ensure meaning is conveyed, that not just word by word is translated, but the actual what these things mean. And then there are the cultural differences, both personal and professional attitudes, and the xenophobia, the fear of something unknown and foreign. Some couple of slides about the projects that our clients have performed in Norway. We have, among others, the tallest wooden building in the world, and some apartments, schools, hospitals, hotels, and so forth.
Sorry, Ole-Christian. Are you allowed to mention some names of Estonian companies that worked with you? Just curious, because I see they're really impressive projects, so I'm just curious.
Yes. It's mainly carpentry and the glass facades that are delivered to these projects. Yeah, if anyone is more curious, they can contact us and we can talk about it.
I see. Okay.
And something that maybe isn't the case in every case, but the Norwegians buy from Norwegians or other local people who speaks the language and are culturally similar to the buyers. We see this over and over again, that they choose companies that are Norwegian, but it basically is only the manager or the front figure is Norwegian and the rest of the companies are often foreigners. This is generally the case in, I think, most industries in Norway. And from our experience, having a Norwegian representative for your company is the best way to open the doors to the Norwegian market and start building an equal partnership.
Yeah.
And here, of course, I have some questions more.
Yeah.
By representative, do you mean necessarily the native Norwegian person, or it could be a person from our country, let's say from Estonia, that lived and worked here and really know the market, really know the situation, have good language skills as well?
Yeah.
How important it is to be a native Norwegian or to be as Norwegian?
No, you don't have to be a native Norwegian. By Norwegian, we mean someone local or someone who has great local knowledge and speaks the language and really understands the market and understands the people involved. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a native. That's
should be present in Norway and competent. Let's say.
Ella is also not Norwegian, so I think she's a proof of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to mention it, but I don't say. Yeah, can I ask some other question? I should actually ask before, but I
Okay.
just.
Yeah.
The most of the offers having a kind of a percentage of the risk, let's say in that way. You put normally 5% of the risk on the top of the offer amount, or 10, or what would you suggest to put on? And of course, it's different offers. But
yeah. Of course, this varies, but I think 5 to 10, around 7% risk margin it makes sense.
And usually this is also a question, how much they will put on top again to go down later in the negotiation? What is the common, which percentage is still respectful?
Yeah. If you should not be able to go down maybe more than 6, 7, 8, I would say maximum 10%.
Okay, yes.
Of course, it depends on the size of the contract. If you are 20-25% off on your offer or higher, then the Norwegian buyer will think of himself as not very serious if he tries to bring you down from that. So I think around maximum 10%, perhaps a bit lower even.
And is it true that Norwegian buyers really know the market? They know the prices here?
Yes, they do, absolutely. So, and then the competition is very hard in Norway. Remember that there are companies, people, suppliers from all over the world, basically in Norway, fighting for jobs. So you have to be competitive and you have to be good at what you're doing and know how to price yourself. And yeah.
And also, is it true that Estonian prices are not on the lower, even not on the middle level? They are a little bit higher, let's say, in compared to East Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. And even sometimes we see that a 100% Norwegian supplier or company can be even sometimes cheaper than Estonian ones.
Why? Why do you think so?
I'm not sure, but I think one of the things are that the profit margins in Norway aren't very high, and also Norwegian companies are quite effective. They are doing quite well. They are good and skilled at what they are doing. So yeah, I think it's a combination of those two things: effectiveness and the focus on quality and not making too many errors and redoings, and also I believe it's a lower expectation to the profit margin.
And maybe the Estonian companies, at least before they know the market very well, they maybe put a little bit too much risk, or maybe they calculate the prices for the workers' condition, for example.
That can of course also be an issue.
Yeah. So I think it goes both ways, and it's important that Estonian companies really know the competitors. They know the average prices. So
it's like we mentioned before about high living and operation costs, how to calculate these costs.
Yeah, and they need to know where to find the minimum salary, for example, for the glass and facade association. So this many things that is not only the direct price for materials or the work that should be included. They must have environmental inquiries. There must be let's say at the Grundpunkt, especially if they use a lot of glass. So my suggestion, please really read very, very carefully what's staying there. And if you don't know, you can ask the companies presented today. You can ask me. If I can help you. If not, I maybe find somebody to help you. So use the time. Rather pick up less tenders, but do it properly. It's a wonderful way to learn what is necessary in the Norwegian market, what requirements you should meet, so that if you even lose the first tenders, don't bang. Just continue.
And I think it's also important to have many opportunities so that you are able to choose, so that you have many things on the table that you can pick out a project or a client that is suitable.
I think a phrase we use a lot is test and learn. Test and learn. If you're going to enter into the Norwegian market, you have to be ready for a period of adjustment and learning. It's not necessarily, the krona flying in straight away. It's test and learn every time.
Of course, when the countries will be more open, also suggest to come to Norway, visit us, visit the companies they presented. They go to the project, talk with the project managers. There they start. And I'm not meaning mostly about construction, of course, but it's I think it's the same on other sectors as well. Your personal meeting can make actually big difference or nothing. This depends how they did it. But Norwegian are quite direct. They will not take meeting with you just to be polite. It's not that way. It's too busy. So if they agree on the meeting, then they at least interesting in something.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Sorry, you just can continue, Ole-Christian.
I'm actually done. Well, there is one more slide. Thank you for your time. Tähelepanu eest.
How is in Welsh, Billy?
Oi. Diolch yn fawr.
We're meant to meet, and then we can learn me. I have some neighbors in North Cyprus that actually from Wales, so that's actually different. I don't understand, but it's really different. Okay. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for all of you being there. I hope the companies will contact you if they have some questions. Anita and Fred, I see you are here. Hello, guys. Nice to
Hello.
see you.
You can just share our presentation also with all the participants. So if they want to contact us, they can do so, and we will try to help them if they have any questions.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, all the presentations will be sent to all the participants that have registered, even not been present in the webinar. It will come on YouTube also. It may take few days before it's on YouTube because it should be done some changes there before it is, but at least you will get the presentation, I think so, this week, because my dear Mary is going to the vacation next week. Lucky you, Mary. Anyway, if you have any questions, please ask. Send them email, call us. You have the numbers, you have the emails. I see some emails already popping in my inbox. Is it something more we should say, Fred? I see you have.
No, nothing special. Of course, there are some more meeting and so on. But I think it was very interesting, and of course we will help you if you want some more information. Well, let's say a Teams meeting or whatever. I and Anita, of course, will serve you. So that's no problem. So yes, I think it was an interesting, very interesting session. I learned a lot today. So very good.
Good to know. Even if the speakers learn a lot, that sounds very good.
Yes.
But one more question, just last one. What do you think about Big Rise Day? Because we are very close to the construction today. Will it happen or not? I really hope it will happen, but
Difficult question. I have my doubts.
Okay.
It's October, and yeah, June is right around the corner, and everyone should have gotten their first vaccine dose in August. So I'm not sure if such a big event will take place.
okay.
But I think we should cross our fingers and hope that it will, and that everyone has got their first vaccine, because then it might be open for us.
Yeah.
I really hope so, because I missed to meet people live, to be honest. I go to Tallinn soon, so I will meet some companies, but it's not the same. I really hope that Arendal week also will be there. I even changed my vacation plans because of those two events, so now it should come.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes, cross fingers and
Yes.
and just hope.
Okay, good. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry, I have to leave now. Okay.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
have a nice
everybody.
day.
Have a
Thank you for
Bye-bye.
having us. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Anyway, we're finished, and you know my number, you know my email, so you know where to call if something. And see you next time.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.